Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone, and we have an extra special video for you here today. Instead of just doing our regular 4 decks, we're doing 4 decks from very special players. All 4 of the players we are featuring decks from have finished atop the Infinite leaderboard at the end of a full season at least twice. That's right, these are 4 decks from some of the very best players of Marvel Snap. Updated decks, 2 with Misery, 2 without, for those of you who have gotten the new card. We also have a ton of top player thoughts about Misery and so much more. This is also, just so you're aware, video 1 of 2 for the day, so make sure you check back later on once the OTA drops for a video on that. We're going to kick it up with Crazy of FAK Crazy fame, Crazy's Misery deck. Crazy has put together a Darkhawk Ronin deck, and you've probably seen something like this around. This is an extremely powerful deck. He's been carrying a 60% win rate and climbed near the top of the Infinite leaderboard with this list. It is, I think, right now, or a version of this within a card or two at the very least, is the best Darkhawk deck in Marvel Snap right now. You can find Crazy streaming all the frickin' time at twitch.tv/crazymsnap. For this deck, you need Grandmaster, Misery, and Darkhawk. That's not cheap, but it's not the most expensive stuff in the game, right? White Widow can be Nico or Baron Mordo. I think Baron Mordo is wildly underrated right now, and actually really good with Misery and Grandmaster. While Cassandra Nova can be Nocturne, Red Guardian, Polaris, kind of whatever. Cassandra Nova is not remotely important in this list. You win the matchups, you win sort of with or without her. She's just a good card. This has a 60% win rate at rank 5 of the Infinite leaderboard in 70 games. Crazy was also the #1 player in all of Marvel Snap in both March and April, one of the only 2 players ever to be #1 in back-to-back seasons. Turn 1, you drop Korg or Hood, and it depends what you're seeing. If you're seeing a Darkhawk early, then you're going to want to make sure you Korg. Korg is fine later, but getting Korg out early will allow you to, well, that rock on the deck makes it more likely for them to draw it. While the Hood early gives you a potential turn 3/turn 4 Viper, which is obviously a really strong play. That's an 8 power play. That gives you a 1/6 demon, right? So it's just top line power. Turn 2 is whichever 2 makes sense to play on the ones. If you played Hood, you want to play White Widow. If you played Korg, you're looking to, generally speaking, Grandmaster that to the mid. You're fine either way. You can play Rockslide or White Widow on turn 3. Those are almost always your play. Viper on Hood is fine. If you can get a Clog from Viper on Korg, feel free, but you usually can't this early. Turn 4, you would really like to Misery it all, or Grandmaster one of the cards, and then play some other cards with Grandmaster. For example, a Demon or a Korg at that point makes sense. So would a second 2 at that point. Turn 5 and 6 are basically just Darkhawk or Ronin, and then you're fine. The second one of those is played with a Demon, and then you're good to go. It's really simple, right? So we're going to look after this at the thumbnail deck, the current #1 deck in Marvel Snap, but let's look at this again. Sorry, Master Mold is your other early play if you have Ronin in hand already. Good. So that's it. If they have 4 Sentinels in hand and they don't have self-discard, they're going to have 4 Sentinels in hand at the end of the game, which is plus 8 power right there. On Ronin, you now have a 5/13. Same concept with Darkhawk, right? If you can trigger a Rockslide twice, you've got a gigantic Darkhawk, or a Black Widow twice. They've now got 2 Widow's Bites? Yeah, Widow's Bites. Not Widow's Kisses, that's White Widow. They've now got 2 Widow's Bites on their side of the board, and they have that problem. There's just a ton of disruption to this list, and you have just 2 big beater finishers. Awesome list. Props to Crazy for this one. Go give it a try. Hey, if you're willing to hit that sub button, I'd really appreciate it. We're trying to get to 15,000 subs by the end of 2024. We're almost there, unbelievably, thanks to the outrageous support of our fan base. We really appreciate it. In return for that support, we give you 7 days a week of videos. This week, we're doing 9 full-length Marvel Snap videos. If you want the most consistent, the most thorough Marvel Snap content, this is the place for you. We cover absolutely everything in Marvel Snap, including a giant podcast with the biggest names and 4 brand new decks every single day. We give you more decks faster than anyone that are top meta players' decks. If you're interested in that, hit that sub button. A like and comment would also go a long way to telling the YouTube algorithm to show the channel to more people and further help. Those likes and comments and subs also enter you to win a season pass. We give away 10 season passes at the start of the season, and then we give away 1 a week for the rest of the season. On Sunday's video, we will be announcing a winner of a Agent Venom season pass. So if you're still looking for that card, all you have to do is sub, like, and later on this video, I'm going to ask a question. You leave a comment. You answer the video with the comment, and you are entered to win Agent Venom. Nice and simple, right? In addition, we have a Pokemon Pocket channel. If you're interested in the Pokemon version of Marvel Snap, please check that out. All you have to do is type in Pulse Glazer Pokemon, or it's in the description to this video. Thumbnail deck. This is the Sizer #1. This is the current #1 list in Marvel Snap. We've covered this list twice before. We covered it last season, and it was sort of semi-ignored. I thought that the second Sizer made this, like I saw Sizer create this on stream, and I was like, oh, I've been calling this the bullying deck because it feels like you're bullying the crap out of opponents. So I absolutely fell in love with this deck the instant I saw it. A week later, I went on Sizer's stream. Sizer is the #1 player right now. I went on Sizer's stream and decided to try and win an Infinite Conquest with him. And we immediately, from Gold straight through Infinite, won every single game on our way to an Infinite Conquest win. And then it started to get more attention. And then Sizer started kicking off this season by playing it, as everyone was playing Bounce and other things, and immediately rocketed to #1. He's now #1 and up several hundred snap points ahead of #2, Jet, right now. And Derek and Jet are neck and neck in the #2 and #3 spot, but many hundreds of points ahead. He's bordering on hitting 10,000 snap points this early in the season because this deck is absolutely dominant. But it has a change since the last time we talked about it. There used to be a Human Torch in it, and now that Human Torch has become Infinite. Infinite just being a big thing you can drop is crazy strong. It does change the valuation of War Machine in the list, but it's still extremely powerful. You can find Sizer at twitch.tv/Sizer2654. You can also there find a VOD of me playing this deck with Sizer to an Infinite border without the Infinite. And if you want to see the Infinite version, the great TLSG, who just went full-time, congrats to our friend TLSG, has a video up with this deck. So please do check out TLSG. That's the buddy. All right. So this deck needs Legion, War Machine, and Madam Web. You have to have those cards. If you don't have those cards, you can't play it. But that is only 2 Series 5 cards and 1 Series 4 card. Aranya is cuttable. She can be Human Torch or Echo. And Alioth could be Torch as well. You're not like Warch, sorry. But Alioth could be Human Torch as well. Just fine. You are playing for priority with this deck because you have both Alioth and Cosmo. Prepare yourself for that. All good? All good. So this is 82 and 42 at 66% win rate as the #1 deck. Those are the stats for the list since Infinite was added. That's absurd. Again, remember, if you're the #1 player, you are playing nothing but the top of the Infinite leaderboard. A really, really great win rate for the #1 players, usually 57%. This is only almost 10% higher than that. This is through the roof. Sizer was also the #1 ranked player in December and July, in addition to being the current #1 ranked player. Turn 1, you want Aranya. You never play anything else, or almost never play anything else. Turn 2, Madam Web, or you can set up a Vulture move. You can drop an Iron Fist at that point, or still play Aranya. Turn 3, you would really like to prioritize Storm, because you have a million ways to win a Storm lane. And if you can win a Storm lane, whether through War Machine, whether through punching a Vulture or a Dagger in there or whatever else, then you've got the advantage of being able to use Infinite or Alioth, whichever makes sense, to close out a lane. So if you can get Storm going, you can then do something like get a Vulture move set up to win, spend the next turn moving Dagger, and then dropping a Cosmo to protect, or dropping an Alioth to protect it. Or you can win a Storm lane, right? Drop a War Machine, right? And then you can set up your Dagger. Oh, and then you can still win the game with your just dropping an Infinite on that Dagger lane, right? Just through the roof power, and then opponents that think they're going to win with things like Shadow King or Shang-Chi just end up with way too many targets in order to handle. Of course, you also have in about 20% of the games, you have Storm, War Machine, Legion, which is you go Storm one lane, War Machine another, Legion the Storm lane, and then the game is over. You can play cards, and they can't. And you have a million ways to win. So, again, if you don't move Vulture on turn 3, though, you can still play War Machine because you have Infinite, but if not, you're going to try to further move Vulture or get a Dagger move set up. At that point, you would really like to Legion or make the second mover play, and then you close with Infinite or Alioth, and you win so many cubes. A lot of people stay in against this when they shouldn't. If you think your tech card's going to win you the game, you have to assume the opponent has either Cosmo or Alioth, and that is going to stop your nonsense. You have to run in those situations. That's part of why this win rate and cube rate are so through the roof. This is, in my personal opinion, and, based on the stats, the single best deck in Marvel Snap right now. Go play it. Next up, we're going to check out the Teen Phenom. He's 15 years old, and he was the #1 player in Marvel Snap twice. Zoons has an Agent Venom free bounce. That means no Agent Venom in the bounce list. But one last look at the best deck in Marvel Snap. It's going to take you a while to learn this. The win rate for this list is only like 53% overall in 1,000 games, but Sizer has a 64% win rate with both versions in 600 games. So that means the other 400 games are people playing this kind of poorly. It's going to take you time to learn this. Take this into Conquest. Practice it. When you get the hang of it, you will print frickin' cubes. Hey, if you want to see more gameplay from all of these decks, please check out the stream team. Today is Thursday, so the King of Canada will be streaming at noon Eastern. So please do check out our friend. All right. Zoons hit infinite in one day using a bounce list. It is worth noting that Zoons is a free-to-play player. He's all of 15 years old. He's 14 the first time he was #1 on the infinite leaderboard. And this is a relatively cheap deck. Sort of, right? It's a relatively cheap deck because so much of it is replaceable. There are cards that are just going to be expensive for you in it. Zoons is free to play. He saves up tokens for after the season and gets the important season passes, which would be how he got Black Swan and Kate Bishop. And then he's just ridiculously good at picking which spotlights to open. He spends a lot of time, energy, and patience making sure that that happens. All right, so you can find Zoons at twitter.com/Zoons0122. This deck only needs two, well, it sort of needs three, but it needs Black Swan and US Agent. It's really, really hard to play this without US Agent in a lot of ways. US Agent being a 2/9 or 2/11 most of the time is so strong. Monkey or Sage can be Werewolf or Bishop. Good. So you do need another high series card. You cannot put Werewolf and Bishop and not run Monkey and Sage. You would be very, very upset. But you can run Werewolf or Bishop in place of hit Monkey or Sage. Good. Nico and Sable are very good, but not pivotal here. Hawkeye, Hydra Bob, Ant-Man are all fine replacements, and Kate Bishop can be White Widow, or, you guessed it, Baron Mordo. Baron Mordo's been really good. Someone played him against me, and then I threw him in a deck, and he's been phenomenal. So, like, Baron Mordo is real good. All right, so this has a 60% win rate right now in Infinite, and Zoons, who is #1 in December and June, is a free-to-play player. If you can make a version of this, this is one of the best things to climb to Infinite with. Turn 1, you want to usually play Silver Sable or Hood. Turn 2 is Kate over Swan, as long as you can afford to play Swan on turn 4. Turn 3 is Ones, or you can play Sage if you already have Beast and you know you're going to bounce it, i.e. you're not playing against Clog. Turn 4, you want Swan and Ones, or you can just start dropping US Agent with Swan here. Turn 4, you want to bounce, whichever bounce card. It could be Falcon, it could be Beast, and then you trigger Swan. If you played Beast or Falcon and you haven't played US Agent yet, this is the turn. Turn 6, you play all your free ones. You play Monkey. If you don't have free ones, you play what ones you can, and you play Sage. Good. And then you can, if you had that Black Swan going, you can play the ones, Monkey and Sage, and Shadow King. And Shadow King is freaking cube stealing in a bounce deck for anyone who's never played it. All good. Next up, we're going to actually do some misery talk from top players in Marvel Snap. Then we're going to take a look at the question of the day, and then we're going to look at Secret Derek Misery. So this is Zoons Day 1 Infinite Bounce. I've been holding on to this deck to show it to you. For anyone who didn't get Agent Venom but still wants to play Bounce, this is the way to go with that list. All right. So this is the general format of all my videos, and it's going to lead to the question. So the question is, what do you think of the general format? Do you have any suggestions? I'm perfectly willing to listen. So the first deck we feature is a really strong deck as a hook. It's just a very simple, straightforward, strong deck that I think makes sense in the meta. If there's a deck that I expect you to have seen from another creator's channel, it very often goes in deck 1. Then I ask you to sub. Then there's the thumbnail deck, second always. I don't want to open with the thumbnail deck because fundamentally too many people click off when I do that, sorry. But then is the thumbnail deck. The thumbnail deck is usually what I consider best and most marketable, some combination thereof, of the video. Cool. Then we go into the stream team, and then there's a smaller segment, like a quick bundle review, something like that. The third deck is almost always a spicy take. It's something that's either cheaper or less tested or a little weirder. It's not the fun deck, but it's the one that's least likely to be like, oh my god, top of meta. Sometimes it is, but it's pretty rare. After that, we do our bigger segment, our bundle review, our custom cards, our top player thoughts, whatever it is. And then we go into the last deck, which is the hidden secret deck. Usually a deck I consider about as good as the thumbnail deck, with a slightly smaller sample. I'm trying to get you a deck before other people notice it that I have a high confidence in. And then we end with questions of the day and Patreon. Let me know what you think of that basic format. As a general rule, if it makes you more or less likely to watch the whole thing, many of you already do watch the whole thing, I know. But let me know what you think of it. I'd appreciate it. Thanks. All right, top player thoughts for Misery. People could not wait to tell me about Misery. All right, Safety Blade, the great Safety Blade creator of the Slayer Blade archetype, the Professor X Cannonball Ravonna deck from a few months ago. Narrow but strong will be overrated. Ooh, Safety does not like it, but thinks it's strong. So we're going to notice a pattern develop. Derek, who we will talk about momentarily, says seems very solid. Barzy, top 5 last several seasons, doesn't go in tier 1 decks. Cope card, but Derek's deck is great. Hey, that's what we're looking at next. But former top 5 player, Snap Judgment League Season 2 winner, says favorite card in a long while. Not overpowered, fair, but I'm having a blast with it. Ava says, excellent card, versatile in a lot of decks. Ava is a Brazilian player who hangs out in the top 10 all the time. Ekmati is another top 10 Brazilian player. Good card, toxic play pattern. Better than Scream, worse than Agent Venom. That's a lot of ground to cover. Scream is a good card, but not a great card. Agent Venom is one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. So, okay. Nithiel says, Nithiel is a French player, phenomenal player again. Not broken at all, but there are things to do. Really, really okay. Owie, another top French player, says fun card, nice synergies, not essential. Jet, the current Phoenix Force player, who is the top Phoenix Force player in the world by an awful lot, says very good and very fun. Dai Cavallo, one of our Italian friends, says another top meta player. These are all top meta players. I'm going to stop saying that part. Weird card, but we haven't found her potential yet. Interesting. W, either the best or second best deck builder ever in Marvel Snap. I'm willing to put Woody up there with him now. Strong card will age well, hindered by the Cosmo meta. We're going to talk about that again momentarily. Jimmy Dickens says way more fun than I thought, but kind of mid. We'll settle into some decent decks, but nothing mind-blowing. And I think that's fundamentally it. That's why I kept Dickens last. This is a seriously fun card. Everyone who got this card seems to be having a blast with it and think that their deck isn't quite good enough. But they're having so much fun that many, many people don't care. The only 2 people I think that are having really, well, 3 people that I think that are having really, really great success with this card are of this list. As far as like winning a ton, Ava has been absolutely crushing with it. We just covered Ava's deck in yesterday's video. Crazy has loved his deck. He speaks extremely highly of it. He thinks it's busted for the time being. And then the third is the Derek deck. And Derek's not as high on Derek's deck as Barzy is. I was on Sizer's stream earlier and Barzy was playing Derek's deck. So I think that there's legitimately something here. This is an extremely fun card. If you're looking to have fun in Marvel Snap, get it. I'm fairly confident in saying if you need War Machine or Namora, you should open Misery and then War Machine or Namora. As long as you obviously have the 4 keys. But if you just need Misery, then it's going to depend on how much you'll play it and if you want a fun card or a hot top meta competitive card. Derek's Misery list is so freaking cool. It's the infinite She-Hulk thing that you really wanted to do forever, that at least I've really wanted to do forever. Except it doesn't have to bother with any magic bullshit. It's got hope and misery, and it says I can do that. And it's got cheap wins because it's got Viper and Electro, and I love this list. This list is so freaking good. All right, so Derek was the #1 player in both August and September. He's the other person besides Crazy to have been #1 in back-to-back months. He is currently ranked number 3 or 4. He's been floating back and forth on the Infinite leaderboard behind Jeet and Nate Biz. So this needs all the cards. Nico is your second answer to Hood. I guess Misery is your real second answer to Hood, but Nico is really, really good. If you wanted to cut Nico for a Silver Sable, for maybe even a Pixie or something, I don't think that's wrong, but it's not a requirement. There's probably a version of this, in fact, that cuts Viper and Hood. You don't really want to cut Viper. What would you have to cut? You would have to cut Hood and Madam Web or something and run Pixie and Mobius. I don't know. I don't think that version is as good. There's a reason Derek came up with this one. So, all right. Current rank 3 player, Sunspot over Hood Nico early. Turn 2 is Madam Web over a 1. Turn 3 is Electro if you have War Machine or Viper. If not, you play Hope. Turn 4, you Viper, Electro, or you War Machine. Or you can drop, oh, sorry, Electro is also fine if you have Misery, obviously. So you play one of the 3 ways to get rid of Electro. And if you do have Electro, make sure you're Misering Electro and Hood, because now you have too much energy, and having an extra demon is really nice. Turn 5 is very, very often pass into turn 6, where if you've been playing on Hope, or if you got the Electro play and got rid of Electro, you can now go She-Hulk and Infinite for 20 power. You can also, if you've got the War Machine, go She-Hulk, Infinite. You'll have 8 energy if you manage to Misery Electro on the last turn of the game, right? So you've got a free She-Hulk, an Infinite, and either 2 demons or a Ebony Maw and a demon. I guess at that, no, I'm sorry. You will not actually have the energy to go Ebony Maw Demon. You won't have the ability to go Ebony Maw Demon because you won't play War Machine in that play pattern. You'll play Misery instead. So I guess you would just have to play 2 demons and be happy. If you do manage to go the other route, though, you're just going through the roof as far as your power goes. If you enter 4 Hope, if you don't have She-Hulk, right? If you on turn 4 Hope, turn 3 Hope, turn 4 War Machine, turn 5 Sword or whatever, you can end up playing Infinite and Ebony Maw together for 27 power at the end of the game just fine. If you play 2 on Hope, you can play Infinite, Ebony Maw, and Demon to end the game. Just an absolutely stupid amount of power. This is one of the best decks in the game. It struggles a little bit with the Storm bullshit, but if it gets War Machine out, maybe it doesn't, right? Like, there's a lot to like about this. There's a lot of power in this list. It is genuinely, I think, one of the best things in Marvel Snap, and I think this is only the beginning for this deck. I think this is one we're going to be seeing a lot of going forward. Questions of the day. Greg is Fun asks about team bonuses coming to Snap. So we had the imbalance patches where things like Avengers and X-Men got +1 strength. Greg is Fun wants to know if anything like that is going to happen again, or something bigger and more serious for things like the Fantastic Four. And yeah, I expect so. I expect there to be either something you put in the deck that works like High Evolutionary for teams, or a card that sort of goes outside your deck that attaches to like your deck building that gives you something different, some kind of bonus for playing its key cards. Like if you play 6 Avengers, you get X, Y, or Z. I think that's going to come. I think it's a matter of time. We might be a couple years away, but I do expect it in Snap. Philip Rakovich asks, what spooks me out? Want to hear my ghost story? I got a ghost story. So I was at a friend's baby's baptism, and the baptism, like, after thing, we went to my friend's house, and he had always said his house was haunted. He had it blessed. Apparently there had been nothing. So we're all sitting there. I'm sitting on a recliner by a wall, right? Like, there's a wall to my direct right, and I'm on this recliner. And I start making fun of it. Like, we start talking about the haunted house, and I start making fun of him, teasing him about it. As we're there and no one's standing there, there's just a wall to my right. The clock that was on the wall just flies over my legs and smashes into pieces on the floor. That was awkward and terrifying. That spooked me out. We left that party because I've seen enough horror movies to know you probably don't want to chill there. What spooks me out is not what scares me, though. You're going to have to ask that in a different question of the day. PSA. I will talk about the OTA later. Once it drops, expect a second video. Please do check it out. I think I came up with a really cool new format for it that is not what anyone else is doing. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with honor. Thanks. I'm going to say thank you to a whole bunch of people real quickly because, late at night, 2 videos, you get the gist. Thank you to Abigail Gislin, Mentor Burnout, It Regardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., I Am Frostman, Jane Everett, Corwin, Prime Brian, Ryan Burke, Kertix Lee, Koirei, Black Dahlia, Pyrofrost, The Goat Seeker, Denman Falcon, Archangel 3K, Hollowed, Quid Pro Joe, Doc D, the Kingdom Marvel's Now Card Content, Fat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, Hey Racco, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob, Silverman, The Beza, X-Rosy, and Skippy G, Tommy Knight goes to One Snap, Judgment League Season 1, The King of Bros, Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Woody, Kev C. Hoda, Luna Chris, Quantum, Quinn, John Q and Jim McHugh, Q-Town, Glam, 8th Sage, Models, Mod Supreme, Darth Tater, Joe K, Joe P, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H, Martin, Jason B, Jake D, McDonaldinho, The Fuzzy Dollar, Spectrum Mix, Woo, Matt H, DJ, Mikey, Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Mr. Craig Sterry, BG, Jonesy, Two Ties, The Great Lord as the Pirate King Tuccrr, and the homie Min, and of course, Gunny T, what the T stands for. Gunny made me buy a new mic, so if you still don't like my my audio, thank Gunny, because there's going to be something new. Check out yesterday's video. It's linked right on the screen to you, and it's got that badass Avazord Misery deck that I know you want to look at. Cool? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for another Snap Take. Oh no, I'll see you later today for another Snap Take. Peace.